Hello and welcome to my video today. I'm going to be going on a road trip from Raleigh to Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm going to pack up my daughter's dorm and move her back home for the summer. I did this trip back in February when it was in the 30 to 40 degree range. I'm going to be taking the exact same route, and I'm curious to see how the range will differ, most likely better, compared to the trip in February. Right now, I'm charged to 100% state of charge, and the range is showing 327 miles. It's about 131 miles each way, so the total trip should be 262 with a comfortable amount left over when I get home. I'll show you the numbers when I get there and when I get back, and show you some charts to compare both of those trips from February and May. Let's get started. Here's the route I'm taking. It is a combination of US highway and state highways across, going from Raleigh west to Charlotte. I'm starting at 2:03 p.m. It's 80 degrees inside the garage, about 75 outside. Here's the information. Since I just charged, everything should be blanked out. I'm actually gonna change my trip meter here to show the full info back and forth. And off we go. Oh, by the way, here's the charge information. So I'm starting off, I'm gonna be using Earth mode with low regen on the highways and high regen on the local roads. As you can see, ever since I started the trip, getting fairly heavy rain. The temperature is also dropped from mid 70s to mid 60s. The forecast is for probably another 40 miles of rain. The rain seemed to end about 20 miles into the trip. We hit 90%, 300 miles driven. Here's some of the stats so far. All right, we just hit 80%, 266 miles. Here is the stats page. About 76 miles traveled so far. 70%, 227 miles remaining. Here are the stats. 113.3 miles driven so far. It's 4:30 and about 78 degrees outside. I've arrived at my destination. I have 217 miles remaining, 66% state of charge. Here's some of the stats. 457, 76 degrees Fahrenheit. Here's the trip so far. Sorry for the reflections here. It's right in the sun. Yeah, that's actually the best. All right, so I'm gonna stop for a couple hours to pack up and we'll be leaving. And we are done packing. Check this out. Floor to ceiling. All the way around. Ready to go back home. All right, it is 6:22. I have 66% state of charge, 216 miles remaining. It's quite a bit warmer. I'm gonna have the AC on now. So let's get started on the way back. Reached 50% state of charge, 164 miles remaining. We look at the stats. We've driven 179 miles, about 51 on the current trip. Okay, we've arrived at the destination. I'm back at home, 9:38 p.m. We have 93 miles left and 29% state of charge. Here's a view of the stats. Oh, by the way, it's 65 degrees outside. Here are the stats. Total trip was 255.6 miles, 74 kilowatt hours were used. A very impressive 0.29 kilowatt hours per mile, which I can't complain about. That's pretty good. Going back to my February trip, I'm going to break it down into the two legs going from Raleigh to Charlotte and then from Charlotte to Raleigh. For the first leg, I arrived with 64% state of charge, 172 miles remaining, 127 miles driven, an efficiency of 0.31 kilowatt hours per mile, and 39 kilowatt hours used. On the way back, I arrived with 29% state of charge, 45 miles remaining, 128 miles driven, efficiency of 0.31 kilowatt hours per mile, and also 31 kilowatt hours used. For the total, it took 80% of the battery pack to drive the 257 miles, and with 45 miles remaining, a total of 302 miles of range for that trip. Efficiency, 0.31 kilowatt hours per mile, and a total of 79 kilowatt hours used. Now let's look at the May numbers. From Raleigh to Charlotte, I arrived with 66% state of charge, 217 miles remaining, 126 miles driven, efficiency 0.29 kilowatt hours per mile, 37 kilowatt hours used.
On the way back, I arrived with 29% state of charge, 93 miles remaining, 128 miles driven, efficiency 0.29 kilowatt hours per mile, and 37 kilowatt hours used. So for the total trip, 71% used to drive 256 miles, with 93 miles remaining, gave me 349 miles of range, efficiency 0.29 kilowatt hours per mile, and a total of 74 kilowatt hours used. So looking at both legs of the trip, we're very, very similar with the same efficiency in kilowatt hours used and pretty much the same miles driven. Now let's do a comparison with February to May results. Here you can see at the beginning of the trip, the car showed 303 miles in February, 332 miles in May, mostly due to the much warmer temperature when I started the trip. Battery used was 80% in February and only 71% in May. Kilowatt hours used, 79 in February and 74 in May. Miles driven, 257 in February, 256 in May. So it was pretty much the same route that I took. And when I add the miles remaining, the total battery pack range was 302 miles back in February and 349 in May. And for efficiency, 0.31 kilowatt hours per mile in February versus 0.29 in May. So as you can see, significantly more miles and efficiency is better. Everything overall was better on the May trip versus the February trip. So if you have the version 2.2 update, that gives you effectively a conservative estimate of the miles remaining on the car. You can see that it gets better with warmer temperature. I'm also going to be doing more trips in the future and seeing how the range goes, but pretty much my previous summer trips, I also saw ranges in the 330 to 340 during the summer. So I'm getting pretty close to the EPA. Really, the only way to get 350 to 360 miles EPA is to drive under 55 miles an hour, more closer to 45. And that's just not realistic for long distance trips where most of the time you're going to be driving at least 65 to 75 miles per hour. So to be realistic on long distance trips, you're not going to see anywhere near 360 miles, more towards these numbers that I show you here. 300 miles in the winter, and if you have really cold winters, it'll be less than 300, and during the summer, it's going to be more towards that 330 number. And of course, this depends on your vehicle. Some vehicles are going to be getting different efficiency than others. There just seems to be some variability in the vehicles. All right, so that about wraps it up. My main point in showing this video is that the range on long distance trips varies greatly, and the warmer the weather, the better miles you're going to be getting. I'm going to see much better miles in the summer than the winter. And that's pretty much true for most EVs. With the 2.2 update, you're getting just more of a realistic estimate of your miles. In some ways, it may be even more conservative than your actual miles driven, but at least gives you a better idea for planning out trips. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.